Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. We start our video with a story about a guy we should learn a little bit from. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. A memory of an old coworker. Had a fellow manager at Taco Bell who we'll call Tom. Tom was the kind of guy to sit in his car until he clocked in and was gone seconds after clocking out. He didn't care about the boss, he didn't care about the business, he cared about his paycheck. One day he came into his shift having forgotten his hat. Our boss, Jeff we'll say, didn't like this. Jeff told Tom to go home and get his hat because he wasn't in uniform. Tom didn't get paid for the duration he'd gone home for the hat. A few days pass, and Tom is in mid-shift outside taking a smoke break in full view of customers. Jeff looks outside and sees Tom in uniform smoking. Jeff goes outside and starts yelling at Tom for giving Taco Bell a bad image by smoking a cigarette in uniform. He tells Tom that he's no longer allowed to smoke unless he has his casual clothes on. Tom smirks and takes his hat off, then takes another puff. Jeff goes red and yells at Tom, "Put the cigarette out until you've changed clothes now." Tom just points at his hat on the ground and says, "I'm not in uniform." Jeff stirs in anger and finally goes inside silently. From then on, Tom never wore a hat when smoking in a very obvious Taco Bell shirt. Yes, smoking definitely hurts Taco Bell's image as a healthy choice. When I think healthy, I definitely think Taco Bell. And our second story. We don't trust you're doing the right thing. Quite a few years ago, I worked in commercial park/grounds maintenance. Think industrial-sized ride-on lawnmowers. It was a good place to work, reasonable salary, good conditions, plenty of optional overtime. It could at times be quite labor-intensive, but mostly a pretty cruisy job. We had a condition of employment that included commuter use of the work vehicle. Use of the work vehicle to and from work at no monetary cost to us. The provision of this condition was that we started and finished on the job, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. This really suited me as I geographically lived a reasonable distance from our main depot. I often drive past our work sites to get to the depot. It was a win-win. Special note, the truck had to be parked off-street for insurance reasons, which I could accommodate. This condition meant my employer gained, on average, an hour's more work from me every day. This worked fine for a few years. My team leader and I were good friends. He trusted me unconditionally. I was a good worker and always maintained my areas to a very high standard. Always helped out my colleagues if and when they needed. I always finished a job, even if it went over my finish time, and I never put in for overtime. My team leader retired. I get moved under a different TL. New TL and I didn't really see eye to eye on a lot of things. He always seemed out to get me for anything he could. I don't remember any specific reason for him not liking me. It was just one of those situations. I guessed he didn't like me. I didn't like him. A few months later, it's springtime. Grass is growing like crazy. I took a sick day and did some work around my house. During the spring season, I would also take the mower home as I had the parking space. A lot of other workers didn't. This was agreed by my employer. On my day off, I'd park the work truck and mower out in front of my house so I had access to my backyard. Still off-street, mind you. I moved it back a few hours later. I got to work the following day and received a phone call about 9:30 a.m. TL and coordinator want to talk to me about a work issue. They come out on site, and the conversation went something like this. TL, as a condition of maintaining commuter use of work vehicles, you must park the vehicle off-street. Me. I can, and I do, have done for years. We have reason to believe that you don't. What evidence do you have to support your claim? Pulled out some photos of the truck parked outside my house on my day off. Who took these? I'm not at liberty to disclose that for privacy reasons. Okay, that's bullcrap, but whatever. I was on sick leave that day. I needed access to my backyard. The vehicle was there for 2 to 3 hours maximum, was parked off-street when I finished in my yard. Whoever took those pictures must have taken them during that time. It was parked securely overnight, as it is every night. As you can see, these photos don't show that. We don't trust that you're doing the right thing, so we're giving you a first warning for breaking the vehicle policy, and you'll need to drop the mower and truck back at the depot after you finish work. You no longer have access to bringing the truck home. I dispute your warning. It's complete bullcrap. I'm finishing work now. I can't work like this knowing Someone is spying on me taking opportunistic photos. I'm dropping the mower back at the depot. I need the truck to get home tonight, but you can make arrangements for someone to pick it up tomorrow from my place. It seems someone knows my address. I'm going to call HR on my way home and set up a meeting tomorrow. I have nothing more to say to you two. I packed up and left. I have CCTV cameras, so I went straight home to investigate. The photos were time and date stamped. Lo and behold, the photographer was my TL with the coordinator in tow. Next day, I met with HR and told them the story. They didn't know anything about my supposed warning. I provided my own photos of the TL and coordinator taking photos outside my house, followed by the vehicle properly parked on my property. Meeting is called between all parties. HR: Mr. OP, we apologize for the way you've been treated, etc., etc. You've not been issued any kind of warning, and you can maintain your existing vehicle condition as you've shown you've done nothing wrong. No thanks. I'm happy to use my own vehicle to get to and from work from now on. Despite being innocent, I have no trust in these two, so I'll start and finish at the depot from now on. I won't be doing 1 minute of extra work for you guys ever again. Thanks. 2 weeks later, they put out a call for OT as we were so far behind in getting non-compliance warnings for grass being too high in high-priority public parks. Myself and my colleagues said we couldn't work any OT. They all hated how I'd been treated and dug in behind me. My employer had paid a contractor to come and mow the grass on a weekend at a huge cost to them. I left shortly after that. Man, there are far, far too many managers who think their job is to bully their employees. And our last story. Forget your stupid work, you owe me a vacation. So this happened a few years ago, but to this day it blows my mind that an entire family could actually think like this. Players are myself, male 28 at the time, X, female 22, let's go with Karen. X's parents, late 50s, Fred and Wilma. We'll get to why it's her parents and not just her. One evening, midsummer, Karen's about to head home from my place. She still lived at home, and she gets a phone call from Fred. All I can hear is her side of the conversation, which boils down to, I can ask him, but I already know the answer. Well, the question was, would I be interested in going on a cruise with her and her family for her parents' 20th anniversary? I've never been on a cruise or big vacation like that, and she knew. My first question is, when are they going? Because I'm self-employed and there are very few times of the year I can just up and leave for a week. Totally fine, I was raised in a working family and vacations are rare treats, but more along the lines of a weekend at the beach or a cabin on the lake, properties owned by various family members that we can borrow for a few days sort of thing. Karen answered with May, one of my 2 busiest months. Immediately my answer was, no, you know I'm slammed in May, and you knew I'd say no before you even asked. How can I do that? Karen: well, you'd only have to pay $1,000. My parents would pay the rest. Me: I can't in good conscience do this, as it could have major repercussions on my livelihood. My final answer is no. Please don't make a big deal out of this. Well, that was the beginning of the end. She left for the night. Cue the next 6 months of needling. Things like guilting me because her brother's bringing his girlfriend and her parents are going. She'll be the only person there without her partner. And how will she ever be able to enjoy herself? I don't know. You're on a cruise. Do something fun. How could you be so ungrateful? My parents were only going to make you pay $1,000. Oh, thank you so much for offering me the pleasure of your family's company for a week for the price of $1,000. It's rude. My parents invited you to celebrate with us, and you're just shutting it down. I wouldn't take a week off for my own parents' anniversary, let alone your parents'. But what about all the money I won't make when I'm gone? It's not $1,000, it's more like $1,750 to $2,250 after factoring in spending money for the trip and things I may need to buy before going. Just hire someone to run things while you're gone, or have your father work for a week for you. Are you kidding me? Hire someone and get them up to speed and trust them with my business so I can take a vacation? And then what, fire them when I come back? Ask my retired father to come out of retirement just so I can F off for a week? LOL. Now, if it were just her, I'd put it down to the age gap and not having bills and responsibilities and such, but her parents actively encouraged this. They got in on it. They would try and shame and guilt me into going. Any interaction would be interspersed with little jabs about why can't I come, and it'll be fun, and why isn't this important to me? Not only that, they refuse to listen to any of these very reasonable excuses as to why I can't go and why it's just not feasible. Now, Fred used to run a business as well once upon a time, and I had the bright idea to ask him, Fred, would you have ever taken a week off during your busiest time of the year? Is that a good idea for a business? He actually answered that yes, in fact he would, and it'd be fine. Well, I'm speechless. Now I know why Fred doesn't operate his own business anymore. This persisted all the way until I had enough with the needling and other issues, and we finally broke it off. But it was in fact a point of contention for over 6 months between us that I can't up and leave my business for a week, and none of the solutions she or her family had come up with were even remotely viable. Fred and Wilma actually expected me to potentially lose lots of my business so that their daughter wouldn't be a handful and be happier on their anniversary vacation. I fully explained my stance, and there was not an ounce of understanding. Their daughter is 100% a product of their attitudes towards what's important, and clearly my opinion wasn't. Her selfish parents wanted you to babysit their grown daughter and pay them for doing it. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.